So I don't usually make videos, especially not with my face, because I don't like showing my face online personally or in pictures in general. But I still have a lot of thoughts about Milo Winter, and it kind of haunts me, and I can't let them go. And I think the fact that I have OCD really isn't helping. So I'm gonna talk about it. I'm probably not gonna upload this video like ever, but I do want to talk about it for like myself to get my thoughts together. And this is probably gonna be like my meanest video. I don't mean to be cruel or anything, but I'm not gonna be nice either. I'm like everybody who knows me in real life, everybody who talks to me one on one, even online, knows I'm a very kind person. I'm very forgiving. I'm very generous, but there are some lines that are crossed, and I kind of can't be kind anymore, and I lose all sense of kindness, and I lose my forgiving, and I turn bitter, and I don't like being that person. And there are a few people who are luckily no longer in my life, but that have made me feel this way. And Milo Winter also makes me feel this way. Um, and I think I have notes with what I want to say. And I think a big reason that I take it like so personally, or that I'm so emotional, I guess, by his story, by like his epic downfall, is because we're very similar in a lot of ways. We're both autistic and have ADHD. We both have OCD. We're both artists. We both have like a fantasy world we've been developing for years. I have my Tales of Lilushka. He has his World of Guardian. Uh, we've both have been known to do the artistic version of a premature ejaculation, which is like, I don't know how to explain it better. We're both trans, and I have stuff to say about his trances coming out. I've He's been out for a few months. I've been out since 2016, so a decade. I have a lot more experience as as a trans man than he does, and I have a lot more experience with selling my art and actually having not a career, because I don't really have a career as an artist, but with selling my art to other people and publishing my art, right? Um, so I think one of the things that really gets to me is that everything that has happened is entirely his fault. It's like a, an epic tale of hubris, right? Everything that has happened, every move he made, you could see how it's entirely his fault, and how if he had not made that move, and if not had he not made the one before and the one before and the one before, everything would have been fine and nobody would have cared. Like maybe a few people would be like, oh, this book sucks, but it wouldn't have been like the dumpster fire which it is currently. And the thing that really gets me is, first of all, how ungrateful he is, because the internet had been kind to Milo Winter in a way I had never seen in my life. He was incredibly arrogant on social media. He published a horrible book to thousands of people, and the vast majority, no matter what he says, the vast majority of feedback had been incredibly kind and incredibly constructive. And it all has to do with the fact that he's white, he's American, and more importantly, he sounds American. He's blonde, he's conventionally attractive, and he's skinny. Of it, like he's charismatic in a way. And at the time, he presented as a feminine cis woman. I had never seen the internet be so kind to anyone ever. And even the people criticizing him, the vast majority of the people criticizing him were giving him the benefit of the doubt, and maybe he didn't mean to do this and this and that, maybe he didn't want to do this and this and that. And actually, I think the only video I truly like on this subject is Cheat Sheet Productions, because any other YouTuber had been way too kind and forgiving to his awful behavior, right? Wait. And the thing is, I know people like Milo, and he had been known to lie, and he had especially been known to lie to victimize himself. And the second someone lies in order to victimize themselves for whatever reason, for attention, for pity, for money, to make someone else not mad at them anymore, I don't believe anything they have to say, right? I've known people like that. And the second you victimize yourself, especially to get people to not be mad at you anymore, and to kind of like, you could tell me, that person could tell me good morning, and I have to look outside to check if the sun is actually up, right? And I don't believe him. And especially, I want to talk about the way he talks about trauma, because the way he talks about trauma is the most American liberal bullshit I have seen in a long time. With just like, he constantly says, I have trauma, but trauma is just like a vague concept of someone had hurt me sometime, and I'm a victim, and I'm helpless, and I'm miserable, and everyone needs to pity me for that very vague trauma. And I'm sorry, but I don't believe him at this point. And I don't believe anything he says at all unless I see definite proof of it being correct, because he had lied enough to victimize himself. So I don't believe anything he says. Um, and the thing is, where he talks about, like, in his guilt trippy videos he made immediately after the book release, where it's like, oh, it's the most horrible things I've ever said, I've heard, and stuff like that. I'm, I just, what in Seinfeld the Bubble Boy? What internet have you been on where strangers being mostly constructive and kind to the horrible book you've sold for money, for a lot of money? It was like $20-$30 the book, right? How is you write a 12-year-old the most awful thing that has happened to you? And I don't mean to just, like, I can't imagine being in that situation. Whereas I don't think I'll ever be in that situation, because I won't be as arrogant about my art to begin with, right? Um, I can't imagine being in that situation, but like, I've been on the internet since forever. I'm 20. We're so similar in age. She's 23, I'm 24, and I get like death threats monthly. I have stalkers. I get awful messages. I have people spreading lies about me and trying to turn my friends and my mutuals against me, using lies and trying to manipulate what I say with bits taken out of context. How is you write like a 12-year-old the worst thing you have ever experienced? What kind of world do you live in where this is, like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry if this is being, or if it's like unwoke, but like, but the way he presents it, like the worst thing that has happened to him, is like, what? I can't. I have had much worse experiences on the internet than he does, and for no reason. His experiences are all the result of his arrogance and his hubris, and I'm gonna keep using the word hubris, because that's what it is. I don't like the term narcissistic behavior. I don't think you should attribute to narcissistic behavior what can easily be explained by hubris, right? Um, but what kind of sheltered life had he lived, where he constantly talks about trauma, and then the things that he describes as like the worst experiences of his life is like the bare minimum of the internet. Like, every person I know had much worse. Like, again, every person that most people I know have had like death threats and stuff like that for no reason, for simply existing on the internet, especially as a marginalized person. Um, and I want to talk about like his PTSD, alleged PTSD diagnosis, right? So as I said, I don't believe him, which is nothing personal. The way that he had lied, I just don't believe anything he said. I don't believe anything he says unless I see definite proof. And as Cheat Sheet Productions had exposed, he lied in his GoFundMe in order to get a therapy dog. And I've never had an official therapy dog. I never had like a service dog. But my dog, which was my family dog, and I took care of her for the last few years, and she had been like the love of my life, and she had been a therapy dog in many, many ways, although it had never been official. Um, she The thing is that Milo moved to another country, to another continent, and didn't take that dog with him. The dog that he so desperately needed for his PTSD, he did. Again, it was not, she was not even a therapy dog, but I couldn't imagine moving to a different street and not taking her with me. Like, I don't, like, at some point, he lied, right? Like, if he can just, like, go and move to a different country and a different continent without the dog that he so desperately needed, something doesn't sit right, right? You know what I mean? And I want to talk about, like, what I struggled with also how arrogant he is, how ungrateful he is to how kind the internet was to him. And I think like the best word to describe him is entitled. And he's very entitled to people's attentions, to people's love, to people's money. And I just don't understand how he is this terrible with money when he is a grown adult. Right, he's my age, and he had lived uh, out of his parents' house, right, for a few years during college. How is he this bad with the money? How did he come to the situation where he moves continents while owning thousands of dollars to people? I generally don't understand how are you this bad with money? And I generally haven't I generally think a lot of the internet is really bad with money. Where it's like I see posts where people are like, "Oh, just give me if every person donates $30," and I'm like, $30 is a lot of money. I don't think you understand. We're like, oh, they only need 10K to meet their fundraiser goal, and I'm like, I have no doubt they do, but 10K is a lot of money. It's not just 10K. It's it's a ton of money. Um, it's like about a year of rent for me. 10K, right? Um, and the thing is this is mean, but I'm sorry. I'm kind of who Milo thinks he is. I'm also autistic, I'm also trans, I'm also have ADHD and OCD. I'm also an artist. I've published my art and I've published my art to much better reception than he does. I literally I picked up embroidery a few months ago, like 5 months ago, and I have an embroidery piece presented as an actual exhibition right now, which is fucking crazy, right? And but the thing is, I've put in the work, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I'm a master like he does. I think I'm a good artist, that I make objectively pretty art, and that I'm worth reading as a writer. But I would never say I'm a master, and he's a big reason why I'm terrified to charge money for my art. He makes me terrified to ask for money. He makes it difficult for even like I upload stories on the internet for free, and he still makes me terrified to do that, and I don't think that's fair. I don't think that one person, his mistake, deserves to make me this terrified about doing what I love, and that's at this point what I'm good at and what is my dream to do. Because he makes me terrified of publishing, which even when I do publish, I if I do publish, I would never be in this situation because I'm not this arrogant to begin with. And I know I'm not entitled to people's money. and people's love. And even like the thing is, even when I do stuff for money, like when I take commissions, I don't just like take money, then give a finished products and say that's it, it's good. There's also always something in between. Ask other I always ask advice from other people. I also, if I'm taking a commission, I talk to the client, see what they want, and I would never just like finish a book barely edited, never ask anyone for feedback, not even my friends, not even like my friends better read them, right? And I talk through the plot with my friends, with my followers. I would never just like do something by myself and not only put it out there, but ask people for money. I just, I don't understand it. Like, how is he at his big age surrounded by so many yes men that nobody had told him in his life, had told him, hey, wait a minute, you need to take a step back. Like, and I think he needs a brand new community because the people around him aren't supporting him when they just like let him do whatever the fuck he wants forever and face no consequences. And I think that the internet backlash to his book and to his behavior is the first time he really experienced consequences to his behavior, you know? But the bottom line is that he makes me terrified. He makes me terrified of doing what I love. He makes me terrified of doing what I dream of doing. He makes me terrified of charging money for a craft that I spend hours getting better at and that I know and that, like, you see how even when I'm talking about it, I sound like Milo, right? And I'm not saying like I'm a master of drawing or a master of writing or a master of embroidery, but I think my art is good, and I think my art should be out there. And I think and other people had proven to me, had shown me that my art can be loved, and I think it needs to be out there. And he makes me terrified of doing that, and that's just not fair. It's not fair that he makes me want to give up my dream. You know what I mean? Anyways, yeah, those are my thoughts on Milo Winter.